Welcome back from lunch. Hope you guys all have a good lunch. Welcome to our session, Business Continuity of On-Premises SQL Servers using Azure Services enabled by Azure Arc. And my name is Raj Pochiraju, Principal Program Manager in Azure Data Group at Microsoft. And I will have my colleague Dhananjay introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dhananjay Mahajan, or DJ Data, and I work along with Raj on making sure that you have business continuity for your SQL servers using Azure Arc.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Agenda, what we are going to be doing today is that we're going to be talking about some of the business transformation patterns that we are seeing in our enterprise customers, and really how Arc-enabled SQL Server service really help them to take that transformation process, but mainly focusing on how SQL Servers enabled by Azure Arc will really help you to maintain your business continuity, whether it could be a disaster recovery or whether it could be a high availability options, how the service really help you to achieve your goals in terms of business continuity, regardless where these SQL Servers are deployed. So that's the kind of topic that we're going to be focusing today. Yes, the first few things is that I'm sure you all agree with me that we are in the brink of the business transformation, and the world is changing. With the power of AI, the way that we really want to render the services to our customers, the way that we really want to build the experiences to our customers is going through a lot of transformation. While that is a good thing, there are kind of some challenges exist as well. So for example, the data latency has been a challenge, a big thing. And we hear a lot from our customers when applications are separated from the respective APIs or databases, they kind of they get the suboptimal performance and less agility that really slows down them to scale that the businesses are required, right? And then the same thing really applies to the database systems as well. The large volumes of data are very critical for artificial intelligence and AI. And business really requires for us to be agile and AI ready. But we have some of these kind of challenges. So it's very critical for us to avoid, let's go back to the previous one. It's very critical for us to avoid the data sources and as well as the data silos, right? But here is the thing. So to build these high performance systems, high performing computing power in an on-premises environment is expensive and it is costly. And especially with the rapid transformation that the hardware infrastructure is happening and the processor innovations, it is extremely critical and difficult to really cope up with these changes while you are being on-premises. So then what is the solution? The solution will be migrating to the cloud. Migrating to the cloud, what will happen is it is going to bring the co-location is the main thing. When applications and as well as the databases and the APIs are co-located, it is going to give you 2 times faster performance that really requires for the agility that you are looking for, the really scale at which your business is really requiring for. That is the main advantage of migrating to the cloud. And at the same time, being in the co-location, being in the same location, you can also it offers really flexibility for you to integrate with services like Copilot and as well as the AI services to increase the productivity. And there is a Foster's survey which really says that with the AI seamlessly integrated into your business applications, line of business applications, you will get 150% more productivity out of that, right? And then Microsoft really practices the safe, secure, and responsible practices when it comes to implementing all these different innovative solutions in our systems. And then we have like 100+ industry standard certifications, which is the most in the industry, that really help you to operate in a secure and safe environment by migrating to the cloud. So migrating to the cloud is a critical step, but at the same time, it is also goes through some kind of a process. So when you do the application portfolio analysis, you have a different type of workloads. Some of those workloads are ready to migrate to the cloud immediately, and some of the workloads might stay longer in the on-premises for various reasons, whether it is a reason of that the applications might not be ready, or you might need to go through some of the architectural changes, rebuild, re-architect kind of stuff. So some of those applications will stay longer, and some of the applications might even stay in on-premises, never get migrated to begin with because of the compliance reasons and other reasons. Or there could be some applications which you cannot even really connect to internet. Basically, these are kind of isolated applications. So we end up with these type of mix of this portfolio of your workloads to begin with, and it is extremely critical to do that kind of an analysis before you really decide which workloads that you want to migrate. And then in the next slide, if you look at the migration journey, it has multiple steps, multiple processes, basically, starting from discovering all your environments, finding out the inventory, finding the application dependencies, and appropriately plan those migrations so that you plan your line of business applications when they are ready, and then finally execute that migration in a way that you have a less impact to your business. So these are the various steps and processes while you go through this migration journey. And obviously, it might take some months to years, depending on the size of complexity and size of your workloads to begin with. And as a DBA, you really find yourself that you end up with managing all these SQL servers, spread across on-premises. Some are in the cloud, some are in the multi-cloud environment. You have this environment where you need to start managing all these different types of SQL servers that are spread across various environments. And here the catch here is that you will only get the cloud benefits, start getting the cloud benefits, or whatever that agility, the built-in high availability, built-in disaster recovery, all those cloud benefits, you will only get towards the end of the migration journey. That is called optimize. But with Arc, what will happen is when you Arc enable your servers, you're going to start getting the cloud benefits from the day one of your migration journey itself. So that even before you start your migration journey, Arc enabling is the first step where you're going to extend the cloud benefits to the on-premises environment, where you can really start optimizing your operations as the first step of your migration journey, right? And as a matter of fact, the same Arc-enabled services will also help you to have a streamlined migration experience migrating to the cloud when these workloads are ready to migrate. So that way, not only that you are getting the benefits today, but also it really gives you a streamlined migration path to the cloud. And in the case of the migrating the analytics, you can also start bringing the data from your on-premises operational store to the Fabric as well. In future, we are going to be enabling this continuous replication to Fabric so that you can also migrate your analytical workloads to the cloud. So that way, Arc really give you a comprehensive solution so that it is going to start offering the benefits and optimizing your operational costs, making DBS life easy so that they can start learning the cloud to begin with, and also really come up with the plans for the cloud migration journey to do that. So today, we're going to be mainly focusing on the lower aspect of it, how Arc-enabled SQL servers is going to really help you, and mainly focusing on the business continuity aspects of it. While you're in the middle of the migration journey, how you can really leverage these services to start securing your environments, and then make sure that you don't have any disruptions for your business in terms of disaster recovery and high availability. We're going to be pretty much focusing on those topics in the next few minutes, actually. And with that, I'm going to invite Dhananjay to talk about some of those benefits that you got.
Yeah. Thanks, Raj. As Raj said, many customers of ours are making journey to the cloud. Yesterday, we were both at the booth and asked the experts, and one of the gentlemen came in and said, hey, I have all these SQL databases. I've been told by my CTO to move those to cloud, public cloud, to save costs, but I don't know where to start.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we are here to help you out with. But before I do that, can I get a show of hands who has all their data into public cloud? Any of you have moved all your data into public cloud? Nothing on premises, just the moderators. So as you can, how many of you have data on premises in your own data center? Most of you, yeah. So that's kind of where things are, and that's what Raj showed. And what we told this gentleman is that you don't need to wait to get those cloud benefits in terms of observability so you know where your SQL servers are? And then he said, oh yeah, I just don't know how many SQL servers we have in the environment, what licenses they're using. I would love to have that single view. Then business continuity becomes important. Business continuity gives you an ability to build your services in such a way that downtime is near zero. And then the third thing is govern and secure. Now, I'm going to talk about the middle piece today, and then going to hand it back to Raj to show how, with business continuity and migration put together, you're really going to accelerate your cloud journey to move to the cloud, and also benefit from the best of both. The first piece is something I'm covering in a session after this at 4 o'clock, so you're all welcome to join that, because that will go into observability. And then the govern and protect is something we had covered in an earlier session, so if you're going through the recordings, you can look at that. But that is where Arc is giving the value to the customer that helps them manage, govern, protect all your data assets and take step-by-steps to move them to the cloud. Because as Raj said, it's not a one switch and everything moves to the cloud, but it's a stage journey. And with Azure Arc, SQL Server enabled by Azure Arc, we want to give you that ability to go step by step, including bringing cloud-like billing models, such as pay-as-you-go, to on-premises. I have a large retail customer who has bought a whole bunch of licenses and they're coming up for renewal. They're actually looking at Arc to provide them not just the inventory, but also an assessment of which databases they need to back up on a regular basis. And thirdly, if the usage is low and can go to a pay-as-you-go model, they can start using those models today in the cloud without having to move those assets to the cloud and get ready for moving them to the cloud when the time is right. So let's think about what business continuity challenges are. Then I'll go through some of the solutions that Arc provides, which are in public preview. And then we'll see how that actually helps you make a step into going towards that cloud migration journey. So business continuity is important. How many of you have mission-critical data workloads? Do you have ways to do business continuity today? High availability, disaster recovery? Absolutely. Pretty much each of the SQL Server customers that we have are using some kind of a solution, whether that's provided by SQL Server or through a third party, to have backups, restore, and business continuity. When disaster happens, you want a quick way to recover so that you can not only understand whether backups were taken, but can I quickly recover so that I can get to my service levels quickly. And then also prepare yourself for future challenges that you may have. So let's look into what Arc provides in terms of business continuity. Arc is all about managing things at scale. You get a view of all your services, all your SQL servers, wherever they reside, whether they are in Azure or outside Azure, in your data center, or in a third-party cloud, such as AWS or GCP or other clouds. All of them get reflected as resources in Azure. All those subscriptions or data centers that you have start looking up as if they are regions in Azure. Without you having to connect to those physical machines, you can now, or using SSMS Manager, you can get a view of your availability group inventory, what status they are, how your failover clusters are operating, and ability to get automated backups. What we have introduced in preview is just like what you have in the cloud. When you're using Azure SQL DB, you're not worried about backups that are happening. When you're using Azure SQL Managed Instance, you can set up backup policies, and Microsoft manages all that. So Arc is providing you that Microsoft managed, but you're in control. Microsoft assisted, but you're in control of managing those services. So you can do backups, point-in-time restores. So just before I came to this this meeting, I was checking out my demos, and here's a great example of how high availability is going to work. I found out that the machines on which we had set up the demos were turned off. Guess what? It's Saturday today. So some of our development machines have been turned off. And so I'm going to use video, but all of these are live demos that I could have done today. I just saw that the agent is disconnected. So apologize, I can't do a live demo, but we'll do videos and you'll see. When you deploy the Arc agent, and by the way, if you're a software assurance customer, how many here are software assurance customers? Do you know? You okay. Pretty much all of you. So Arc is available for you at no cost. Keep that in mind. This is included in software assurance, and the deployment of Arc agent is very simple. So once you deploy the Arc agent, it goes into your hosts, whether it's Windows Server or Linux, detects if SQL Server is running, and deploys the SQL Server extension. That SQL Server extension is now connecting to Azure and uploading metadata about your SQL Server, what SQL servers you have, how they're running. So let me show you a quick demo of what it looks like in your data center. Oh, that's because oh yeah, that's right, I'm sharing this. Sorry, just hold on. I'm getting used to this. Okay. Okay. So it looks like I've extended the screen. Okay. So as you can see, once I have connected through Azure Arc, I have several machines that have been enabled through Azure Arc. And I can go down and I can get an inventory of all the servers, all the Kubernetes clusters, all the VMware clusters, and also SQL Server instances. And these SQL Server instances are actually running on premises. Those are the servers that have been turned off. If this was running in real cloud, they wouldn't have been turned off. So those are the demo machines that are showing up as a reflected resource in Azure. And I can click on these machines, and I can start getting all kinds of useful information about those machines. So I can do a search. And narrow down to the machines that I'm looking for. So here's one machine, and I can start getting all kinds of properties of those machines. Now this one's connected, whether, what's the computer name, what version of SQL Server is running. You can get an inventory of all the licenses on that machine, but it also gives you information about whether backups were configured. So automatically backups are not configured, but we can, once they are enabled, you can see the backups also over here. So now you have Azure as your control plane to manage all your SQL servers, wherever they're running. So let me go back to the slide deck and give you a quick view of what happens. So you get availability group inventory. There is no need for you to connect those to the physical machine down there. You can do that all through Azure. And you can get availability group replicas. You can get whether the failover mode is happening. You can get the health state, the synchronization. And you can also initiate a manual failover, which we'll show in the demo. It shows all the availability groups in the replica and the status of the AGs in a nice view. So let's go to the demo straight away.
Availability groups show up in Azure portal through SQL Arc. Let's go to a SQL instance. And if I click on that availability groups tab, it will show me how many edges I have. In this particular case, I have only one AG, so I'll go ahead and click on that. And it shows what is the role of this particular node, which is it is secondary, and the mode is synchronous commit. It is failover mode is automatic, and it is in a healthy state. And if I want to, I can go and do a failover. And it is asking me whether I'm ready for a manual failover. Go ahead and initiate the process. In the meantime, if I go back to SQL 01, which was the previous primary, and I go to the correct instance, I should be able to see the availability group tab there, and going to my particular availability group, which is AG1 here. And it shows that now the SQL 01 is secondary, and it just had a failover. We can double check which one is the primary, and if we go back to SQL 02, it should show up as a primary now. So let's go to the availability group after going to the correct instance. And I see that once we go to the AG1, it is showing that SQL 01 is the secondary, SQL 02 is the primary, and all the states are healthy. Availability groups show up.
So that's a quick way, as you can see with the Arc agent, you're able to get the inventory of all your availability groups. You can go into them. You can also initiate manual failovers. This is in public preview right now, so give it a try. We're going to make it even more fully featured based on the feedback we are getting. How many over here are using FCI in their environment? Okay, one person. So we are doing similar functionality for FCIs. So when you have failover cluster instances, and this is the technology that is always on failover clustering that's built on Windows Server clustering. The agents are able to detect and give you inventory of the clusters, the metadata about the databases which are part of the clusters, the logical view, the physical view of the nodes, and also Defender is something that's working on the FCI clusters today. So you can get the logical Arc resources. You can look at the primary nodes when you get the view. You can get the role of the clusters, whether it's always on or not. You can get the properties of the failover clusters. If there are other nodes in the cluster, those also show up in the inventory. And you can drill down, go into the databases which are part of the cluster. So you get a complete view of what the cluster looks like. And with Defender support, now added to FCI clusters, you can also know whether those individual nodes of the cluster, the SQL servers running on it, whether it's the Defender is running and it can flag any kind of critical issues that might happen. This will take a few hours for the Defender thing to run, but once you have enabled the service, that service will give you a periodic report. So FCI inventory is something that's available today in public preview. Give that a shot and let us know. I'm going to skip through the demos in the interest of time and hand over because we want to see also how the continuity can help you with migration. Now coming soon, think about setting up a failover instance in the Azure cloud with SQL MI. With Azure Arc, you will be able to set up a failover instance in the cloud, create an availability group, and get Microsoft managed disaster recovery. So if you have a disaster in your data center, you should be able to recover that data from your copy in the cloud. Or in future, you can start using your SQL Server replica that's running in Azure and slowly do a switch over to using that as your primary. And there you go. You've already migrated. So that's kind of where this functionality is leading. A quick peek into what we are doing with backups as well. This is also in preview. With Azure Arc, we want to give you the taste of what happens in Azure, which means automated backups for your services on a periodic basis. So you can do a point-in-time restore at any given time that you want that database to be. Now, it's important to note that I already saw many of you had raised your hands that you have HADR solutions that you're using today. You're using some kind of a backup today, whether it's your scripts or third-party tools. So this functionality is not enabled by default. So you'll have to enable it. But once it's enabled, you can define a policy to configure it. Number one is the retention days. How many days between 0 and 35 do you want this backup to be retained? Now, if it's 0, that means no backups will be taken, and it can go up to 35 minutes. And then you have a daily, weekly backup. For full backups, for differentials, it's every 12 or 24 hours. And for transaction log backups, it's every 5 minutes. Once you have set up this backup schedule, the database keeps getting backed up according to the policy. And based on that backup schedule, you can also go back and do a point-in-time restore, which means if you have already backed up in an automated way, you can give the time within that period, and you'll be able to restore that to a new database. Question there in the back. The question was, is there any policy for log retention, right?
Long-time retention.
Long-time retention.
Yeah.
We are working on that. That's in the backlog. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, that's something we have in the backlog. This is where we want to hear from you, try out our service for today, and then we are also going to enhance it. So think about this. I mean, the way we are heading with Azure Arc is we are giving you a customer managed, but you can deliver database as a service. We're giving you the knobs, but the tooling comes from Azure Arc for long-term retention. Yeah.
So what's your current long-term retention policy? 18 months?
So the feedback there was from Robert was that we can't even try this service because there is no long-term retention capability, and that is a must-have. And today, Roberts has an 18-month retention policy. So that's like something we should take back to the product team. Like I said, this is in preview, so it's very early. Don't use this for your mission-critical workloads.
Yeah, we could put a test database on to see how.
Yeah, put it on a test database. Let us know what policies work for you and what don't. And we are a very agile team. Ajay, our leader, is sitting there at the back, and we take this feedback. Raj and I'll go to the team, and we release on a monthly basis. And that's also another part of the cloud model, is that agile delivery. So great feedback. Any other questions? Anything online? No. Okay. So I'm going to skip through the demos and hand this back to Raj. Yeah. Because now you saw how backups are taken. You can restore it. And you can also set up availability groups to get your high availability disaster recovery scenarios.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhananjay. So far, Dhananjay went through how Arc, the SQL servers enabled by Arc really help you to monitor the existing disaster recovery and the high availability configurations that you have in your on-premises environment, and really get that kind of a view from the scale standpoint of view from Azure portal itself, so that you can be able to go and then manage those solutions from a single control point, Azure, regardless where these SQL servers are deployed, whether those SQL servers are in on-prem, private clouds, or multi-cloud, you can be able to really manage them from a single location, right?
There's a question? From the... Yeah.
Yes, there is a question online. Is the database backed up locally on-prem once you initiate from Azure Arc,
yes,
or it gets backed up to the cloud directly?
Yeah, so today the question, I think people can be able to hear the question. Today you can take those backups to on-premises environment in the on-premises data store, but we have some backlog items where to take the backups to the cloud as well in the URL. But let this feedback comes in, it really helps us to prioritize that feature.
Thank you.
Okay, so here is the thing. Dhananjay talked about the Arc is all about doing things at scale. So imagine that you have thousands of SQL servers running on-prem, and you want to really get a hold of like how many of those databases are being backed up, and the backups are happening to those databases. How many databases are missing those backups? Or how many of those SQL Server instances are enabled by always-on availability groups to get to the high availability solution? And how always-on availability groups is really doing? Like, what is the real-time status of availability groups? Is any synchronization problems it's having? So how do you really keep track of this whole thing? Like, especially when DBS are managing thousands of databases, thousands of SQL servers, right? Once you Arc enable all those servers, you will get that inventory and the real-time status about your the disaster recovery solutions in a single location in Azure. You can really build the dashboard that I'm showing you here with a very simple steps, using all the inventory that we collect for you from various sources, whether it could be the general inventory, or it could be a performance monitoring, or it could be a real-time monitoring of your solutions. We can get all that information and generate in a single dashboard with very easy steps using the simple Azure Graph queries, right? So for our context, what I'm going to show you here, I have this dashboard generated, which has all type of information like SQL Server editions, SQL Server versions, distributions. But more importantly, to the context of this this topic, I'm going to show you. How do I get to this? This is this. Yeah,
Here
thanks.
we go.
Right here. Yeah. So here, I generated a few graphs based on my environment. Like I got 7,000 databases which are sitting out there, like a huge estate. And then all these databases and servers are connected to Arc. Now I can get this view across my estate, how many of these databases are really having a backup enabled, and how these databases backups are happening. So I see in a purple color here, there are like around 50% of my databases are not having the backups to begin with. And I came it as a surprise to begin with, right? I thought I'm pretty good, like all the backups are happening and everything, but my inventory shows to me, this graph is like my 50% of the databases are not even backing up. And there are some other databases are like month-old backups. And if really the disaster strikes at this point of time, I have no protection to begin with. I'm going to lose all these databases and data, which is a huge risk. It may not be the case in your production environment to begin with, but at least it gives you, which of those databases are backed up, which of those databases are the backup is not happening as frequently as you would imagine, right? This type of dashboards really give you where the DBA really need to focus their work as they come to the work on the first hour of the work, right? Where should I focus? Where the things are not working for me? And these type of dashboards can really give you the indications of those things so that you can really prioritize your work and proactively react on some of these activities so that you don't really run into these kind of scenarios. And only Arc can make it happen for you. These are the simple queries that I put it here, simple views, but you can really customize this dashboard with very easy steps. With Azure Graph queries, they are like simple T-SQL queries that you can really run through and then get this inventory. That's the power of Arc actually, right? And going forward with this, like once you know that these backups are not happening, and we will give you an ability that go ahead and start enabling those backup policies for the databases which are missing or not comply, enable those, fix those databases that the backup policy not comply with your organization policies. You can be able to do the things at scale as we going forward. So far we talked about the business continuity while you're on premises, but let me go through some of the options that you have, how Arc really help you to have a business continuity using the cloud services. The way that you can achieve business continuity using cloud, there are two ways. The best way is to migrate to the cloud so that you can really get the built-in options for the disaster recovery and high availability, right? It really gives you the built-in option. You don't have to really worry about anything. Once you migrate to the cloud, the business continuity is right there, right? With the built-in options. That's one way to do it. But again, like I said, if the migration, if you're in the middle of the planning of the migration, and at the same time, you also need to protect your existing on-premises world to have the business continuity, You can outsource your business continuity to the cloud as well. You can literally outsource your business continuity to the cloud. For example, think about SQL Server managed instance, which is running in the cloud, right? You still have your on-premises OLTP system, which is running in the on-prem, but you can say that I'm going to be using a managed instance as my disaster recovery site, or I'm going to use managed instance as my high availability solution, or I'm simply going to use managed instance for read-only workloads so that I can really load balance my entire workload to begin with. These are the various options when it comes to the cloud, but how Arc can make it happen for you. That is something that I'm going to show you in next 10 minutes. Regardless whether you are migrating to the cloud to achieve the highest level of business continuity, or whether you are going to use the cloud services as your disaster recovery site or a high availability solution, the first thing you need to do always good is to do an assessment to make sure that your workload can operate on the cloud. Even if you end up with failing over to the cloud managed instance, in case if the disaster strikes you, you want to make sure that you have application compatibility, right? Otherwise, your applications are going to start breaking. So it's always a good practice, whether you're migrating or doing the disaster recovery in the cloud, do a compatibility assessment against your cloud. And this is enabled in Arc-enabled SQL Server as of last month for free, and it is automatically enabled for you. You don't have to do any type of configurations beyond the requirement that you just connect your SQL Server to Arc. You will get this assessment report by default in a continuous basis. Basically, what this assessment will do is, it will identify if there are any migration blockers or the disaster recovery enabled solution blockers that you need to worry about. And it also gives you mitigation steps, how to mitigate those activities to begin with in case if there are, right? And this report will continuously operate. So let me give you a quick demo on that. So I have this Arc-enabled SQL Server, and for me, the assessment is already generated. It's readily available for me. And here it shows me 3 different options. In the case if I want to migrate, it is giving you the migration options where it is ready to migrate in terms of managed instance, in terms of VM, and in terms of DB. But even if I want to establish a disaster recovery solution, is my application is ready or not to begin with? That information you can get through this assessment. And in case if there are any issues that the application has in terms of migrating, it will tell you what those issues are. When it comes to the not ready status, you can really go to the specific migration blockers, the issues that are really blocking you to use that option as your disaster recovery option or the migration target. It will tell you how to mitigate those ones as well. Like for example, in this example, it shows that there is a XP CMD shell, which is a command line option that you use. You can run some operating system level functionality using the XP CMD shell in the context of SQL Server workload that is not being supported on Azure SQL, and hence that is kind of shown you as a migration blocker. And also it provides you a mitigation step in case if you want to really fix that. So that way you can really understand this assessment really help you to assess whether you are migrating to achieve the high business continuity, or whether you're going to use one of those cloud targets as your HR solution. This is the step that we always recommend to go through it, and which is readily available for you by any means. Any questions at this point? Sounds good. So once you're ready, whether you migrate or whether you want to set up a disaster recovery site on the cloud, one thing that we are going to be doing it in the near future is the real-time replication to the cloud from your on-premises environment. The way it works is that once you Arc-enable your SQL servers, we establish a continuous replication between your on-premises and the target, cloud target, right? And it will also use the distributed availability groups. The availability groups concept, like if you already have an availability group that you're kind of familiar with it, we use availability groups to make that continuous replication from on-premises databases to the managed instances, in this case, right? And then this will happen continuously. The good thing with this solution is that it is a simple failover when it comes to, you want to failover when the disaster strikes to you. If you want to do a simple failover, it really minimizes the downtime that is required for your workload, given that the continuous replication always happens, right? It is just only takes some time, whatever the time it takes to failover, a simple failover from your on-premises environment to the managed instance. The other thing is, you can always fail back. Once you are ready that your on-premises environment is restored back and the operations are back to the normal, then you can always, as long as it is SQL Server 2022, you can always go back and fail back to the on-premises environment as well. This whole process of doing these things at scale will be completely fully automated using Arc-enabled SQL servers. Today, the whole automation through Arc-enabled SQL Server is not available, which is coming very future. So I want to give you some sneak peek into what capabilities are going to come in Arc. While the assessment already exists, this functionality does not exist in the Arc-enabled SQL Server yet, but you can still use our MI link, managed instance link functionality to establish this type of a disaster recovery site to the cloud, and then you can also have this failover back. Not only that, you can also use this solution to test your read-only workload as well. So that way you can kind of load balance between the write workload and the read workload. That way you can really reduce the load that is happening to your on-premises workload environment to begin with. Yes. The question is, do you need an express route? You need an express route or a VPN connection to establish this link, right? Today, you can do it manually, but the goal for us to make it completely fully automated, the same method we use for disaster recovery, high availability, can also be used for migration as well. So that's the real beauty of this whole solution to begin with. Any other questions? Go ahead, please. He said, do we need an express route connectivity between your on-premises and cloud? Express route or VPN connection, so that we have a visibility of the source SQL Server. Yeah. Okay, so if there are any questions, I want you to leave with, I know we kind of almost reached the end of the conference, but just we provided all the session details here that we delivered, or maybe there are few still need to be delivered.
There's one more that will be delivered at 4 o'clock on operational insights.
Yeah.
But so, all of these are already,
Correct. And then I want to leave you with some of the resources that you can really learn about.
Oops.
Oh. Okay. It's not, okay, sounds good. Yeah, so some of these, we write a lot of blogs. We have docs that you can really start learning about the Arc in general, Arc services in general, the disaster recovery practices, how Arc really help you to manage, secure, protect, and then have a business continuity at scale, regardless where those SQLs are deployed. These are some resources that you can leverage. Go ahead, your question.
We're using Azure Site Recovery for the Arc company. So I'm asking, does Arc enabling our on-prem SQL servers give us any additional visibility into our existing Azure Site Recovery, disaster recovery?
Good point. So the question is, like, we already have Azure Site Recovery as a disaster recovery solution at the VM level, right? At the whole VM level, VM to VM. And do we have any visibility in Arc to see how many of those? That's a good point.
It's in our backlog.
Yeah. It is in backlog? Yeah, okay.
We have a proposal internally that we're investigating.
Thank you. So there is a proposal, I guess. Yes. Yeah. Let's make it note down that one.
Yeah. No, I noted it down.
Yep.
Question online?
Yeah, so someone online saw that in one of the slides, data can be replicated from Fabric to on-prem.
Yeah.
But you didn't speak about it. Is that a thing? Or?
Yeah, so basically, because I just want to focus this the topic to the disaster recovery, high availability concepts, but yes, to answer that question, we are going to be enabling the Fabric replication, which means is that you can replicate continuously from your operational data store, which is SQL Server running on-prem or outside of Azure, to Fabric OneLake in a continual manner. So that is something that we are currently working, and when it is ready for limited preview or anything, we will let you know. But that is another way that you can also migrate the analytical workloads to the cloud, and then load balance your workload aspects of it, actually. And towards the end, we have a case study here, how Usually banks are very, it's known that banks are very restrictive in terms of enabling networks and all the stuff, but World Bank, they enabled their Arc, all their SQL servers which are running on-prem today to the Arc, and then they're leveraging several of Arc capabilities like best practice assessment and everything to manage their workloads today while they're running in the on-prem. And they're also started exploring the MI link to really have a disaster recovery site established on the cloud. And eventually their plan is to migrate for sure. And then when they're ready, they're going to use Arc to migrate as well. So, but that's how World Bank is really leveraging Arc-enabled SQL servers from the day one of their migration journey. While they're in that journey, they started getting the operational benefits using the methods that we just talked about. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time, and then enjoy the rest of the stay in the conference. Otherwise, have safe travels.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.